Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Prime Minister Modi unveils infrastructure projects worth more than 4,000 crore rupees at Madurai in Tamil Nadu. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian says post-Khamenei, the Interim Leadership Council has taken charge. Ayatollah Ali Reza Arafi appointed to the 3-member Transition Council. Iran launches fresh strikes across the Gulf. Pentagon confirms 3 of its soldiers killed, 5 injured in the Iran attacks. 9 killed in the attacks by Iran on Israeli town of Beit Shemesh. 3 killed in UAE, 2 in Kuwait. India monitoring the evolving situation in West Asia closely, issues advisories for Indian nationals in the conflict zone to remain vigilant. CBSE postpones class 10th and 12th exams in the Gulf countries, including in Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Iran conflict disrupts thousands of flights, passengers stranded at Indian airports too. The latest escalation of tensions involving Iran, the United States and Israel, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has said that it fired 4 ballistic missiles at U.S. aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln positioned in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's security chief said that the strikes targeted U.S. bases rather than countries in the region, though they've hit countries, but it says they've hit the U.S. bases in those countries. Meanwhile, an Iranian missile strike hit Beit Shemesh in Israel, killing at least 9 people. Emergency teams searched damaged buildings and treated the injured. Israeli President Isaac Herzog, along with politicians, visited the site that was hit by the Iranian missile. And importantly, 3 soldiers of the U.S. have been killed, 5 have been injured. The Pentagon has confirmed that.
Historic effort to change the trajectory in the Middle East to a different future, a future of peace. We've been for generations confronted by an empire of evil. Ali Khamenei spent a whole generation of taking his people's resources and directed them towards terror, bloodshed, pain and horror. And what we are doing here together, all the allies, the United States leading this effort, is to change world situation towards a vision of peace in the region. The people of Israel and the people of Iran can live in peace. The region can live in peace.
And the United Arab Emirates reported that 3 people were killed in Iranian attacks in its country, while Kuwait said that 2 persons were killed in related raids. Israel has released footage claiming large-scale strikes on Tehran following the joint U.S.-Israeli attack that killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The Israeli military said that it targeted sites deep inside the city to dominate the skies and weaken Iran's defenses, dismantling most aerial defense systems in western and central Iran. And as we were saying, as the conflict escalates further, U.S. military has confirmed that its forces struck an Iranian Jamran-class warship during operations in the Gulf of Oman and called on Iranian forces to lay down their arms and abandon ship. According to U.S. Central Command, the warship was hit and was sinking at the pier in Chabahar following the attacks. and the Iranian military personnel were urged to leave their posts. The UN nuclear agency will hold an extraordinary meeting on Iran on Monday. In a statement late on Saturday, the Vienna-based International Atomic Energy Agency had said that the meeting was at the request of Russia, a key ally of Tehran. And U.S. Central Command has said that confirmed that 3 of its soldiers have been killed in action and 5 are seriously wounded. The U.S. Central Command said that these soldiers were injured in Iranian strikes. And I quote the Central Command, the 3 U.S. service personnel have been killed in action and 5 were seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue and our response effort is ongoing. The situation is fluid, so out of respect for the families, we will withhold additional information, including identities of our fallen warriors, until the next 24 hours after the next of kin have been notified, unquote. So this is what the Central Command of the U.S. military quoted in a tweet put out on the social media. The outbreak of the conflict between Israel and the U.S. against Iran triggered joint U.S.-Israeli strikes across Iran and has drawn frantic calls for calm as deep consternation spreads across the globe.
World leaders reacted with a mix of support, condemnation, and urgent calls for restraint after strikes hit Iran. UN Chief Antonio Guterres has warned that military action in West Asia risks triggering uncontrollable consequences in the region.
We are witnessing a grave threat to international peace and security. Military action carries the risk of igniting a chain of events that no one can control in the most volatile region of the world. Let me be clear. There is no viable alternative to the peaceful settlement of international disputes.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney underscored his support for US efforts to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, but noted that Ottawa was not involved with the military planning. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Sunday that the killing of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and members of his family was cynical murder that violated all the norms of human morality and international law. North Korea's foreign ministry spokesperson said in a statement that Israeli attack on Iran and US military operations were illegal aggression and a violation of a national sovereignty. China's Wang Yi said that Beijing's position is immediate cessation of military action and that China's positions are returned to dialogue and negotiations. European Union chief said that there is a renewed hope for the people of Iran, and at the same time the moment carries a real risk of instability that could push the region into a spiral of violence. The bloc added that they are engaging closely with all key actors as well as regional partners to safeguard stability and security and to protect civilian lives. Britain's Defense Secretary John Healey on Sunday declined to explicitly back strikes by the United States and Israel on Iran, saying it was for the US to set out the legal basis of the action it took. French President Emmanuel Macron said that the outbreak of a war between the United States, Israel, and Iran has serious consequences for international peace and security.
I think we're in a really precarious state. I've been thinking that for several years, but particularly since the new president came in the United States, and I think this is an incredibly dangerous situation for the entire world. And it's been done without any legality.
Pope Leo XIV called for an end to the spiral of violence. He appealed to the parties involved to assume the moral responsibility, adding that stability and peace are not built through mutual threats or through weapons, but only through reasonable, genuine, and responsible dialogue. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripathi report, DD India.
Meanwhile, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has said that armed forces are acting with power to destroy enemy bases and will leave its enemies hopeless. Pezeshkian said that the Interim Leadership Council has begun its work under Article 111 of the Iranian Constitution. Global air travel is facing its biggest disruption since the pandemic as escalating conflict between Iran, US and Israel shuts down key Middle East airspace. Major hubs including the Dubai International Airport have been hit, triggering thousands of delays and cancellations worldwide. The ripple effect has spread across Europe and Asia, stranding passengers and forcing airlines to reroute long-haul flights.
Global air travel faced its biggest disruption since the COVID-19 pandemic on Sunday, as escalating conflict between Iran, United States and Israel forced widespread airspace closures across West Asia. Major transit hubs, including Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest for international passengers, along with airports in Doha, Abu Dhabi and Kuwait, were shut or severely restricted after Iranian retaliatory strikes. The airspace over Iran, Iraq, Israel, Syria, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates was fully or partially closed. Flight tracking services reported more than 6,700 delays and 1,900 cancellations worldwide by 10:00 GMT Sunday. Gulf carriers Emirates, Etihad Airways and Qatar Airways suspended large portions of their schedules, while airlines including Air France, British Airways, Lufthansa, Air India and Delta Airlines cancelled or rerouted flights. The ripple effect spread beyond the region, stranding passengers across Asia and Europe and disrupting key Europe-Asia transit routes.
I have a flight to Dubai and it was basically cancelled now. On the way here, everything actually looked all set for me to be able to fly, but it's been suspended until noon tomorrow. I'm going there for work, so it's going to be a bit complicated.
In India, the crisis triggered widespread cancellations at major airports. In view of airspace restrictions, a total of 350 flights operated by Indian domestic carriers were cancelled on Sunday. At the Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi, at least 100 international flights, 60 departures and 40 arrivals were cancelled. Officials warned of further disruption to westbound services. In Punjab, Sri Guru Ram Das Ji International Airport reported 10 international cancellations, including services operated by Air India Express, SpiceJet and Indigo. At Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport, display boards showed multiple cancellations, with stranded passengers also reported in Jaipur, Telangana and Chennai. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, the CBSE has issued a statement for the students in schools in Bahrain, Iran, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, saying that they have postponed the board exams, the examinations, and I put the statement out. The examinations scheduled for Monday, the 2nd of March for both class 10 and 12 are postponed. The new dates will be announced later. The board will review the situation on Tuesday and take appropriate decisions, with examinations scheduled from the 5th of March onwards. And my colleagues Jessica Taneja and Gautam Roy now join us for more on that story. First to you, Jessica, on the air travel disruptions. After the pandemic, this is the biggest disruption. What sort of an effect is it having, especially on the aviation sector, and of course the woes of the passengers who are stuck at various airports?
So, Amrit, what we can tell our viewers at this point is that Iran, Kuwait, Israel, Bahrain and Qatar have all closed their airspace, and even when you hear from Dubai, another day of an extension of the airport along with the air travel gets disrupted. Now, with the current situation being monitored, there could be more travel disruption for people who have been stranded on airports, as we've been reporting throughout the day. There were people on Dubai airport as well, where you heard explosions. So that has created a bit of a travel chaos for many in that region. But I think as and when the day progresses and how this particular military operation goes ahead in the region, would be able to determine what more is to follow when it comes to the flights that are currently operating, and what would be the correct assessment of what the airspace, which airspace would be open and what flights would be taken. If you look at all the major airlines, Lufthansa, Air France, British Airways, Air India, Emirates, Etihad have all nearly suspended flights or cancelled the flights. Even people stranded on different parts of the world are looking for confirmations. So in that sense, the travel situation has become much worse than anticipated. But the next few days will determine as to how this goes ahead. Because if you continue with these strikes and counter strikes, travel may be disrupted for a brief period of time.
Okay. Gautam, let me bring you in. As the conflict escalates, what sort of an effect could it have on the markets when they open tomorrow? One, what effect could one expect on gold, on the Bitcoin, the effect of the conflict?
Well, Amrit, the effect could be devastating if the conflict prolongs. It depends on how long this situation goes on. Right now, of course, it's still in the escalatory phase. So that will be reflected in almost utter panic, I guess, in the markets as far as Monday is concerned, the start of a new trading week. We have seen speculation about Brent crude already up in futures 10%. It was already climbing through the recent weeks and had reached about $73 a barrel. So if it opens around $80 a barrel, nobody will be surprised. But the speculation is, will it reach or cross $100 a barrel as well? Now, OPEC Plus has already said it will increase output in April by about a little over 200,000 barrels a day. But that may not make much of a difference if this conflict does not find some sort of a solution very soon. The other, of course, impact will be on the prices of precious metals. Silver already on fire, up more than 7%. On Friday when markets closed. Gold was not that much up, but still up, and a gap up in the prices of both is expected on Monday as well. But a lot of people are saying that already gold and silver have climbed up a lot, so there is little headroom in the current situation. But if again the conflict keeps getting extended, there is no solution, people don't really step in and quieten things down, and if that regime change objective is pursued with troops on the ground as well. Already you had 3 troops, US troops being killed. You had fatalities taking place in multiple Gulf countries as well, at least 4 of them. A lot of people injured as well all over the place. A lot of traffic shut through the Strait of Hormuz, where 25% of the world's crude oil is routed out. Almost India's 50% oil supply comes from that. We have reserves for 70 to 90 days. But the other impact will be, of course, on the Gulf countries itself, because a lot of them even import basic things, edibles and essential supplies. And if the ports are closed, it will become difficult within those countries as well, and prices will climb. And if oil stays up for a long, then this could affect, this could be another inflationary cycle for the entire world.
Yeah, that's true. We'll leave it there. Gautam and Jessica, thank you very much for joining us for the moment.
Thank you.
And in view of the current situation in the region, India's Ministry of External Affairs has issued multiple advisories to its citizens staying in the Middle East or West Asia. Indian nationals in Oman are requested to remain vigilant and observe locally advised safety and emergency procedures. According to an advisory put out by the Embassy of India in Muscat, Indian nationals in Oman can contact the embassy at the numbers. There are toll-free numbers. These are numbers of Oman in Muscat, 8007-1234, or they can also use WhatsApp for messaging or calling. The number is +91 982 82270. And advisories have also been issued for the Indian nationals residing in Qatar. The embassy's 24/7 helpline number there is 00974 55 647 502. And the email for addressing any queries is cons.doha@mea.gov.in. And in view of the current situation, all Indian nationals have been requested to follow emergency alerts sent by local authorities and have been urged to stay away from the vicinity of military sites. For UAE, All Indian nationals have been advised to avoid unnecessary travel, take due care, remain vigilant, follow safety guidelines and advisories issued by the UAE authorities and, of course, the Embassy of India. The Embassy of India in Abu Dhabi and the Consulate General in Dubai are continuing to function normally, while they will be issuing updates as and when necessary. The nationals living in UAE, can contact the embassy at 800-46342. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas has said on Sunday that the killing of Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in the US-Israeli strikes was a defining moment in the country's history. In a post on X, she said, and I quote her, "The death of Ali Khamenei is a defining moment in Iran's history. What comes next is uncertain, but there is now an open path to a different Iran, one that its people may have greater freedom to shape. I am in contact with partners, including those in the region, that bear the brunt of Iran's military actions to find practical steps for de-escalation," unquote. Qatar has strongly condemned the Iranian attacks targeting commercial port of Duqm in Oman and an oil tanker off its coast. In an official statement, Qatar's foreign ministry called the Iranian strikes a clear violation of Oman's sovereignty and an unacceptable escalation. Qatar called the attack cowardly and reiterated full solidarity with Oman, reaffirming support for all measures taken by Muscat to safeguard its sovereignty, security and stability. And protests are taking place in Pakistan also. Pakistani police on Sunday clashed with protesters who breached the outer wall of the US consulate in Karachi, leaving 9 people dead. These people were protesting against the killing of Khamenei. And the Pakistani police, which was guarding the US consulate there, opened fire after the building was breached, and these people were killed from gunshot wounds, according to hospital records. While a rescue service spokesman said that 20 others were wounded. The protesters chanted slogans against the US, Israel and their allies. Earlier in the day in central city of Lahore, hundreds of protesters gathered outside the US consulate there. There were small scale clashes with the police, but no reports of violence. Several hundred people staged a protest near the US embassy in Baghdad against the US-Israeli strikes on Iran. The demonstrators gathered close to heavily fortified green zone where US embassy is located. Protesters waved Iranian and Iraqi flags, raising slogans condemning airstrikes carried out by the US and Israel. The gathering reflected strong anger over the military action as crowds voiced solidarity with Iran and opposition to the attacks. Brent crude jumped by 10% to about $80 a barrel over the counter on Sunday, while analysts predicted that prices could climb as high as $100 a barrel after US and Israeli strikes on Iran plunged West Asia into a new conflict. Most tanker owners, oil majors and trading houses have suspended crude oil, fuel and liquefied natural gas shipments via the Strait of Hormuz after Tehran warned ships against moving through the waterway. More than 20% of the global oil is moved through the Strait of Hormuz. The OPEC Plus group of oil producers agreed on Sunday to raise output by 200,000 barrels per day from April. Actually 206,000 barrels. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated and dedicated to the nation and laid the foundation stone of infrastructure projects worth over 4,400 crore rupees in Madurai today.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone and inaugurated various development-led projects in Madurai worth around Rs 4,400 crores for the betterment of regional economy and for the ease of living of the common citizens. While addressing the official function, the Prime Minister emphasized on Tamil Nadu's pathway to progress, highlighting the importance of the projects.
We are inaugurating 8 redeveloped stations across Tamil Nadu. The dedication of the Chennai Beach, Chennai Egmore 4th line will benefit thousands of daily commuters in Chennai. I am also pleased to inaugurate Akashvani's new FM relay transmitters in Kumbakonam, Yerkad and Vellore. These radio stations will be dedicated to your service from today.
Prime Minister Modi later proceeded to the Arulmigu Subramanya Swami Temple in Tiruparankundaram and performed puja. With a development-led focus, Prime Minister Narendra Modi not only gave a gift of superior infrastructure to Tamil Nadu, but has also ensured ease of living and better economic opportunities to the people of the state through key inaugurations. Deepika Mehta's report for DD India.
And Prime Minister Modi, who arrived to a rousing reception in Puducherry on Sunday, dedicated development projects worth over 2,700 crore rupees aimed at strengthening infrastructure, urban services, industrial development, education, healthcare and sustainable growth in Puducherry. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister said across India there is a great emphasis on building top quality infrastructure.
There is a great emphasis on building top quality infrastructure. In this year's budget, we have set aside a record 12 lakh crore rupees for building infrastructure. This will also benefit the people of Puducherry. We included Puducherry under the special assistance to state for capital investment scheme, which used to be open only for states. More funding for infrastructure means better roads, water supply, coastal infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and many such projects. These facilities directly make the lives of the people better.
Still to come up on DD India NewsHour, a discussion with an expert on the ongoing conflict in West Asia, where it is going, the contours of it in the coming days.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Amritpal Singh. To talk about the escalating situation in West Asia, I'm joined by Ambassador Arun Kumar Singh, former senior diplomat. He's been a diplomat to various countries, notably to Israel. Thank you, Ambassador Singh, for being on the show. Seeing the conflict, the way it's escalating today in strikes, the US Central Command admitted that 3 of its soldiers were killed in Iran strikes, 5 injured. They were able to hit Israel, at least 9 people dead there, multiple cities in Gulf attacked, Kuwait, I think 2 killed, 3 in UAE. Clearly, it is on an escalatory ladder. Where do you see this going?
So many in the US itself have commented that this is a war of choice that US and Israel have embarked on. And as you recall, last year also, there were 2 rounds of exchanges between Iran and Israel. And in the second round, targeting more specifically Iran's nuclear program, US have also joined and caused significant damage to the nuclear program. Now, in this instance, I think the sense was that in the earlier attacks, Israel had severely degraded the air defense systems of Iran. And with the protests that had taken place in Iran some weeks ago, there was a sense that perhaps the Iranian government was weak. And with another attack from the US and Israel, there could be a chance for regime change. And this is one of the things I've articulated as a specific objective. From the US point of view, the present structure in Iran came into power in February 1979. And so, 47 years ago. And since then, they've found them an adversarial government. Now, Iran also refuses to recognize Israel's right to exist. Now, many of the other Arab countries have step by step worked out some kind of a relationship with Israel. You'd recall that in 2020, for example, through the Abraham Accords, 5 Arab countries, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Morocco, and Sudan, had established diplomatic relations with Israel. But Iran had a firm line. They believed that in terms of their philosophy, the kind of identity that the Israeli state had was something that they couldn't accept. So from Israel's point of view, Iran was an existential threat, as they said. So I think they felt that perhaps here was an opportunity to work for regime change. Now, whether that will work is questionable. Because if you remember in 2003, the US did attempt regime change in Iraq, and it led to more than a decade of violent conflict. In 2011, US and Europe tried regime change in Libya, removing Colonel Gaddafi, and Libya is still destabilized. In Afghanistan, many scholars have commented that it took the United States 20 years to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. So, regime change from outside, going against whatever may be organic developments in a society internally, does not always work.
But Ambassador Singh, I agree with that. The objective of the operation clearly looks like regime change, though on the first day it looked that possibly they could want to weaken Iran and then renegotiate with a weakened Iran. But after the killing of Khamenei, do you think this will continue? Because if they want to look at a regime change, today they've brought in another cleric, Ayatollah Arafi, and now the interim or the transition leadership council is there. I think Pezeshkian said that the supreme leader will be elected in a day or 2. So if, there is a whole institutional system that exists in Iran, is it that easy to do effective regime change? One. Second, what according to you is going to be the strategy of the Americans and the Israelis? Will they go all out for a regime change, or will they stop at what they've done?
So as you rightly pointed out, Iran has institutional structures. There's an assembly of experts that elects the supreme leader, and that body is in existence. They have a structure for setting up an interim council if the supreme leader is not there. So that process is on. The Revolutionary Guard Corps has its own institutional structure. And there's a mechanism through which they elect the parliament, the Guardian Council, the president. So all that is there. Now, suddenly, the fact that large number of senior leaders have been killed would be a shock to the Iranian society and establishment. And they'll have to, and there could be pulls and pressures within the power structure. Competing power structure would come into play. So we have to see how all that plays out. Some may be more hardline towards the US. Some may want more accommodation towards the US. It is difficult at this stage to see how the power alignment will work. So that's one thing. The second thing is, with the kind of killings that have happened and the supreme leader, his death has been described now as a martyrdom. Given that the Iranian society, one would expect, would consolidate to some extent with the regime. There are a large number of people there who are alienated from the regime. But there are also a significant percentage of the population in Iran that is supportive of the regime and believes in the religious and other philosophies that the regime has been advocating. And so there would be that level of consolidation. So I would suspect, despite whatever pain is brought to bear on them, the leadership and society, they will not want to capitulate. Now, on the other hand, Israel, seeing an existential threat to itself, would want to continue for as long as it can, given one will have to see what are its stockpile of resources to continue with this kind of attack. But in the US, if an attack goes on for a prolonged length of time, there would be blowback against the president. Because as it is, President Trump, during his campaign, said that he would end forever wars. And he had also said that he would not advocate a policy of regime change. Now, what he is doing now is opposed to what he had articulated during his campaign.
Also, his popularity is down and he faces a midterm election.
And of course, but if he succeeds in this conflict, it may help him in the election.
Oh, you're saying it's a gamble that he's taken?
But if he doesn't succeed, it will go against what he has said. In fact, on the social media, you're seeing they have revived a 2-year-old interview of Vice President Vance, where he said it would not be in US interest to go into war with Iran. And so that's what they had advocated. And part of the MAGA base of President Trump has been opposed to any war effort. So I think if it prolongs, there would be a pressure on the president to bring the conflict to an end. But of course, there has also been devastation in West Asia. Iran has retaliated, starting with US bases located in the region, to other parts in those countries. And so there's been, you referred to some of the killings, there's been damage to civilian property, there's been damage to infrastructure. So the equation between Iran and other countries in the Gulf will also be strained at this point of time. There could be dimensions of, religious conflicts. So there are many dimensions coming into play.
In fact, I wanted to ask you on that, of the religious context. How would the Sunni world react? Right now the statements coming out of Qatar, out of Oman, out of other countries, even the Saudis, is that we will not take it lying down and we will not allow our sovereignty to be violated. But they don't seem to be too keen to jump into this war. In fact, I think, was it Qatar who said that this is not your war, don't get to the Americans, this is not your war, stay out of it. Or was it Oman?
No, I think that was Oman.
That was Oman. Oman said, stay out of it, don't get sucked into it.
We saw the Oman foreign minister who was involved in mediation between US and Iran, had done an interview before the attacks began. And he said that a deal was within reach. And that Iran had made concessions more than it had done before. And once the conflict started, he said he was very disappointed that the
So two questions there. What would the Sunni world jump into this war? What would be their reaction? Would they?
No, I don't think they're particularly interested, the other countries in the Gulf, to prolong the war effort. But if they feel, any country that feels that its sovereignty has been challenged is bound to react, to say that they will protect their sovereignty.
By statements.
And they have to make that. But from Iran's perspective, I guess their argument would be that US bases from your territories are attacking us and that we have a legitimate right. So it's a different narrative, and I think each narrative has a certain validity.
Okay. And the other question, that it's a little background question. If, as the Omanese foreign minister said, there were concessions that Iran was willing to make, according to publicly available things, it was going well. then suddenly what dawned upon President Trump and Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, that they decided to go in for this, and obviously this isn't take a spur of the moment decision. This would have been planned weeks in advance.
So there are two things there, Amritpal. One, even from the statement of the Omani foreign minister, you can make out that what he has indicated that there was progress on the nuclear question. And on the question of enriched uranium, commitment not to make nuclear weapons, Iran was willing to make far more, further commitments than it had done ever before. That it would not keep any stockpiles of enriched uranium. They would make a commitment never to have nuclear weapons. So
allow IAEA inspections.
And IAEA inspections. But Iran was not prepared at this stage to enter into discussions on ballistic missiles. And the Israeli and US argument has been that through their ballistic missiles, they are in a position to reach Israeli territory and potentially US territory. And they needed to also bring that into play in the negotiation so that Iran's capacity is curtailed. Now, at this stage, obviously, Iran was not prepared to enter into that because they may have felt that that would completely expose them to Israeli attacks because they don't have the kind of air capacities that, for example, Israel has. So that's one argument, that they were not prepared to discuss about ballistic missiles. But more than that, if looking at the long term, US and Israel felt that this was the moment when Iran was weak, and through their effort they could push things towards a major change in the governance structure. But they may have taken that call.
Okay.
But whether it will work or not, now only time will tell. And based on past experience, one would feel that the objectives they have set for themselves may be difficult to attain.
Okay. So, Ambassador Singh, once again, what's your sense? Will this prolong? Will this play out for days, weeks, months, or will it, stop and there'll be some return to the negotiating table? Though today at a mosque in Coms, they raised the red flag, the Iranians, which is basically saying we'll take revenge.
So I would watch how politics in the US plays out. Because if the politics in the US plays in the direction of not prolonging the effort, then I think President Trump will want to find a way out towards starting some kind of negotiation again. So let's watch that. But again, the other thing you should keep in mind that even Russia and China, who have a very strong relationship with Iran, although they have condemned the US action, in substantive terms, I doubt if any of them will give major material support to Iran because they have their own equation with the US in mind. Russia would rather want concessions from US in the context of Ukraine rather than get involved in the Iran situation. Similarly, China would want good trade agreement with the US, less technology restrictions, less weapon supplies by US to Taiwan, rather than again get involved substantively in the Iran situation, beyond, of course, vocalizing condemnation. So it's a complex situation that's playing out. So I would feel ultimately US ability
politics will decide what President Trump would do. Okay, Ambassador, let's come to what happens in Iran in terms of transition to the new leadership. How could the Iranian politics play out in the coming days?
So it's very difficult to state from here because in any case, Iranian politics has not been fully transparent. But as I mentioned, they have a process of electing a new leader. Soon enough, the Assembly of Experts will meet and they will elect a new supreme leader. And then the power structure will start consolidating around that. So we have to wait for that step to come out.
But there are some, names doing rounds. One could be the son of Ayatollah Khamenei. There is a name of his grandson doing rounds. Then the present cleric who has come as a jurist to the council, his name is there. Though earlier Larijani's name was also being floated, but because he's not an Ayatollah, so he cannot go in for being a supreme leader, though he'll remain a powerful figure in their power structure. If you could possibly talk a bit about that.
So it's all speculation,
okay.
And it's better not to. But it obviously, as you indicated, the supreme leader has to be also the supreme religious leader and political leader. So it has to be an Ayatollah And then, of course, or whoever, the structures, the Assembly of Experts particularly, that's the mechanism. But the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, they'll have a say in what emerges, the Guardians Council from behind the scene. So all that will play a role.
Given the fact that the Ayatollah was 86-year-old, there were some reports that he was looking at a succession plan, working on a succession plan for a bit. So could there also be something already there, but now, of course, the situation is changed because he's dead?
So sure, again, all this is again matter of speculation.
Okay.
But to say that, obviously, people around him would have been discussing that. There would have been ideas, thoughts. They would have thought of something when the exchanges with Israel took place last year. That because Israel had indicated that they were targeting Ayatollah Khamenei even at that time.
Right.
And they would have anticipated that something like this may again be attempted by the US and Israel. And so I'm sure, discussions and thought processes must have been on.
We'll leave it there, Ambassador Arun Kumar Singh. Though the situation is evolving, it is clearly on the escalatory ladder right now. Coming days, we'll have to watch how it develops. Many thanks, Ambassador Arun Kumar Singh, for taking our time and sharing your insights with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And still to come up on DD India NewsHour, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney arrives in Delhi after a productive Mumbai visit. IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav addresses the Gujarat Semi-Connect conference in Gandhinagar.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump has said that 48 Iran leaders have been killed in the ongoing US-Israeli bombardments of the country. Trump was quoted as saying in an interview by Fox News that nobody can believe the success, and I'm quoting him here. He said, nobody can believe the success that we are having. 48 leaders are gone in one shot and it's moving along rapidly, unquote. This is what he said in an interview just given to Fox News. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney reached New Delhi on Sunday after a productive Mumbai leg of his visit to India. He was accorded a ceremonial guard of honor reception at the airport and was received by the Minister of State for Commerce and Industry and Electronics and IT, Jitin Prasad. On Monday, the Canadian Prime Minister would hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav addressed the Gujarat Semi-Connect Conference 2026 in Gandhinagar, calling it a historic milestone for India's semiconductor journey. He said that the Prime Minister inaugurated the country's first semiconductor plant, fulfilling the promise to bring chip manufacturing to India, with more plants set to begin production soon.
भारत के इतिहास में, इंडस्ट्रियल इतिहास में एक बहुत बड़ा ऐतिहासिक दिन था। कल पहला सेमीकंडक्टर प्लांट इनॉग्रेट माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया और जो प्रॉमिस उन्होंने देश के सामने रखा था कि भारत में सेमीकंडक्टर इंडस्ट्री को लाना है, वो प्रॉमिस उन्होंने पूरा किया और ये पहला कदम है। बहुत जल्दी दूसरा प्लांट भी कॉमर्शियल प्रोडक्शन में जाने वाला है और उसके बाद में 2 और प्लांट कॉमर्शियल प्रोडक्शन में इसी वर्ष जाएंगे।
And Minister Vaishnav also highlighted the rapid progress on India's bullet train project. He said that the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train is expected to start next year and once completed will cover the distance in 1 hour and 57 minutes at a speed of 350 kilometers per hour. Vaishnav also noted that Prime Minister has approved 7 more bullet train projects.
बुलेट ट्रेन का काम भी बहुत तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहा है। अगले साल बुलेट ट्रेन चालू करेंगे और जो जब कंप्लीट हो जाएगी मुंबई से अहमदाबाद 1 घंटे 57 मिनट के अंदर अंदर जर्नी होगी। 350 किलोमीटर पर आवर की स्पीड से ट्रेन चलेगी। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने और 7 प्रोजेक्ट भी बुलेट के नए अप्रूव किए हैं।
Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan laid the foundation stone of Chetna Gana Ashram, or a musical campus at Thrissur in Kerala. He highlighted India's ancient and rich musical heritage, saying the country's civilizational journey has long been shaped by enduring power of music.
Bharat has its own rich tradition of music dating back thousands of years. From the hymns of Vedas to the devotional outpourings of saints, music has flowed through our civilization like the Holy Ganga, pure, powerful and life-giving.
Prime Minister addressed the 350th Shahidi Samagam of Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. The Prime Minister highlighted initiatives for the Sikh community and social unity. Prime Minister stressed that the spirit of standing with courage and truth is as relevant today as it was at the time of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji.
हिंद दी चादर श्री गुरु तेग बहादुर साहब जी के 350वें शहीदी पर्व पर उनका पुण्य स्मरण कर रहे हैं। संगत का ये अद्भुत आयोजन हमें भरोसा दे रहा है कि हमारे गुरुओं और संतों का आशीर्वाद हमारे साथ है। साथियों, ये समागम एक निरंतर चलने वाला यज्ञ रहा है।
Well, Holi is the festival of colors is a few days away, but Himachal Pradesh Kullu district has been already celebrating this festival for weeks. Kullu's Holi, by the way, is very famous. Holi in Kullu begins on Basant Panchami and continues for 40 days.
Even as much of India still awaits Holi, Himachal Pradesh's Kullu district has already been celebrating the festival for weeks. Rooted in devotion to Lord Raghunath, Holi in Kullu begins on Basant Panchami and continues for 40 days. On Sunday, the Radha Krishna temple in Thava village came alive during Holashtak as folk singers performed traditional songs and devotees played with colors.
बसंत पंचमी के साथ ही ये शुरू होकर 40 दिनों तक ये त्योहार चलता रहता है और इसका उत्कर्ष जो है वो होलाष्टक में होता है और चरम जो है बड़ी होली वाले दिन होता है। वो बड़ी होली के दिन जिस दिन फाग का दहन होता है उसके पश्चात होली कुल्लू में नहीं मनाई जाती।
Members of the Bairagi community commenced the celebrations by offering gulal to the revered deity, singing ancient holy songs that have echoed through these hills for generations.
आज हम यहाँ नगर ठावा मंदिर में आए हैं और जिसमें यहाँ जो बैरागी समुदाय है ये लोग बसंत पंचमी से लेकर के होली का दहन तक होली गायन करते हैं और कल से कुल्लू में छोटी होली या परसों बड़ी होली। तो आज यहाँ आए हैं इस मंदिर में, तो यहाँ पर सारी पारंपरिक होलियाँ गाई जाती हैं और बसंत पंचमी से लेकर के होलिका दहन तक ये कार्यक्रम चलता है होली गायन का।
आज बड़े खुशी की बात है, हम बैरागी समुदाय के साथ यहाँ मुरलीधर मंदिर में होली मनाने के लिए आए हैं। और इन होलियों की विशेषता ये है कि ये ब्रिज की होलियों से मिलती जुलती होली है, कि उधर की होलियां हैं ये जो यहाँ गायन होता है, ये बहुत सुंदर गायन होता है। ये सब होलियों से हट के गायन बैरागी समुदाय का होता है।
कुल्लू जनपद में होलियों का जो उत्सव है वो 40 दिन तक चलता है। भगवान रघुनाथ जी जब बसंत पंचमी पर ढालपुर मैदान में अपने अस्थायी शिविर में आते हैं, वहाँ पूजा अर्चना और जो संपूर्ण कार्यक्रम होने के बाद वहाँ बैरागी संप्रदाय के द्वारा बसंत गाया जाता है और तब से इस घाटी में, कुल्लू घाटी में होली गायन प्रारंभ हो जाती है।
While most parts of the country will celebrate Holi on March 4th, Kullu will mark the festival a day earlier on March 3rd in accordance with the full moon. Choti Holi in Kullu will be observed on March 2nd.
So this festival color in Kullu plays out for 40 days, but in the coming days, Holi will be celebrated in other parts of the country. That's it in this edition of DD India NewsHour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that you see on your screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh. From my entire team here in Delhi, thank you for watching DD India NewsHour. Bye-bye.